Does anyone really need professional communications? The average adult speaks roughly 16,000 words per day. 16,000! We're pretty good at it. So why do we need to pay someone to communicate? And what exactly are we paying for? Welcome to the podcast, Stories and Strategies, the real world of professional communications. My name is Doug Downs. Thanks for joining us. That 16,000 words per day, by the way, is from a study at the University of Texas at Austin. Now, you might see some articles online that suggest women speak more than men. Just not true, according to the scientific research that's out there. So what does professional communications mean? Do professional communicators just speak better? Do they write better? Are they more convincing? Do they know the words that will get people to do the things you want? Are they spell checkers, grammar police? Are they brand police? I can assure you none of the above. Well, actually all of the above. It's kind of complicated. So joining me for episode 1 of this podcast is Jim Rudolph, the president of JGR Communications and my business partner. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Doug.
And are there magic words when we're talking?
Do you know what? I don't sense too many magic words when we're talking. I'm afraid.
And I think that's being honest. Jim, considering, though, that we do get paid as professional communicators to make things easier to understand, when it comes to our vocation, we haven't necessarily done a very good job at explaining what we do for a living.
Well, it is funny when I try to explain to my to family members and to friends who have no attachment to the communications field. Trying to explain it, it's amazing to see their eyes glaze over, and when you see that, you question yourself. Geez, can I really explain what it is I do? Because it is complicated. Luckily, all my fellow communicators have always told me they get the same glazed eyes when they talk to family and friends about what they do, and really. Words do matter. The professional writing and script writing and all those things do matter. But it's really about strategy. It's about planning. It's about having purpose behind your communications. It's about understanding your audiences, the stakeholders that you're dealing with. So that's the critical point, is that communicators look at the big picture for the company, look at the business objectives, look at the different audiences for communications, and build a strategic plan around that, and also think about the different scenarios for different situations, and help the company navigate through that. So to me it's a lot more than just the right words.
Right, a key management function is what you're describing there.
It is a key strategic management function. Ideally, the communications lead for a company is sitting right at the executive management table with a VP title or a senior VP title, and fully understands reputation and the importance of communications and how that plays into reputation.
Okay, and have you seen instances where organizations and very intelligent leaders see the communicators as the disseminators of information?
Yes, all the time. And in fact, quite often, that's probably what people think about the most. Although I have seen organizations where the communications function is part of the executive management team, and it's strategic, and the leader is strategic, and the leadership understands that communications is a strategic function. There is some of that dissemination of information, and when you're talking about internal communication, sometimes it is about coronavirus and sending out tips about how to stay safe, those kinds of things. But it's all part of a plan. It's all part of a structure, and that's really what communicators bring to the table, is bringing structure around communication and that long-term planning.
And you and I use the term professional communications or communication strategist. Isn't this all just PR?
Well, how people perceive the term public relations, that's probably a topic for another podcast. What I will say is that in terms of communications, I see communicators as being interpreters. They help interpret the outside world, the external world, to the company or to the organization, and help guide the company through what external folks are thinking, and also internal employees as well. So it's there's that interpretation role, and I always use the term corporate communications, and the reason I use that term is like when you look at a lot of the literature, corporate communications has a 360-degree view of an organization and its communications needs, and that's my background, is being is managing the communications function in organizations, and then after that going out and taking that experience and starting JGR Communications 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now.
And that's longer than 10 years ago, or close.
Exactly 10 years ago.
Was it exact?
Exactly 10 years ago.
A decade.
Yeah.
And that public, not to cast aspersions on that term public relations, because there are very valuable associations that incorporate that name right in, like the Canadian Public Relations Society that you're a member of.
That I'm a member of, and lots of great learning through CPRS, a code of ethics,
yes.
all those kinds of things that that professionals need, so it's not to cast aspersions on that as well. I guess that's another piece of this, is why I'm so glad that we're doing this podcast, is that we can talk to fellow communicators, whether they're other consultants and competitors, or people that work in in-house corporate communication shops, in-house public relations shops, that we can learn from each other. And that's really, I think, the goal of this podcast, and we can explore these issues together. So I'm really excited about it, and excited about what you're doing with this.
Yeah, and part of the formula of the podcast is we want to play clips from songs, TV shows, movies. The first one is a clip from the TV series Mad Men, produced by Lionsgate Television. And it flows into what the public has perhaps, or many have seen as the negative connotation of the term PR. It's because of this 60s magic words kind of scenario that doesn't exist, and yet television at least has suggested that back in the 60s it was all about the perfect pitch. In this scene, Don Draper and company are pitching to a lipstick company. They're pitching the slogan, "Mark Your Man," to a client to convince him these words are the magic elixir to greater sales.
It's as simple as e pluribus unum. From many, one. From many shades of lipstick, one that belongs to her. From a basket of kisses, she picks one. It makes her unique. It colors her kiss. And her kiss, well, it colors her man. Belle Jolie lipstick. Mark your man.
I only see one lipstick in your drawing. Women want colors. Lots and lots of colors.
Mark your man. It's pretty cute.
Oh, you like this? Well, maybe we should cut down to 5 shades or 1.
I'm not telling you to listen to anyone, but this is a very fresh approach.
It's okay, Kenny. I don't think there's much else to do here, but call it a day. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Is that all?
You're a non-believer. Why should we waste time on kabuki?
I don't know what that means.
It means that you've already tried your plan, and you're number 4. You've enlisted my expertise, and you've rejected it to go on the way you've been going. I'm not interested in that. You can understand.
I don't think your 3 months or however many thousands of dollars entitles you to refocus the core of our business.
Listen, I'm not here to tell you about Jesus. You already know about Jesus. Either he lives in your heart or he doesn't. Every woman wants choices. But in the end, none wants to be one of 100 in a box. She's unique. She makes the choices, and she's chosen him. She wants to tell the world he's mine. He belongs to me, not you. She marks her man with her lips. He is her possession. You've given every girl that wears your lipstick the gift of total ownership.
Sit down.
No.
Yeah. So there you go. Is that how it actually works with that kind of pitch?
People, I think most people in 2020, they understand when they're being advertised to, and they understand when they're being pitched. And I think we all understand that, right? Because we are bombarded with messages every day. So in my view, it's far more than that, and it's about it's about being authentic, and it's about understanding audience needs, and it's about trying to create. To me, it's about trying to create true dialogue between an organization and its publics, its audiences. So it's far more than just the right words, and that's not to denigrate the right words, because words are important, and that's part of our lives as communicators. But there's more behind it than just using the right words, and that's going to magically be the silver bullet to solve all issues.
So a time to pitch, a time to listen, a time to analyze, a time to take action. Boy,
Very well said, Doug.
wait, I wonder, we should put that down on paper. Those are good words. Or something close to that anyway. Okay, let's play another clip from the movie Thank You for Smoking by Fox Searchlight Pictures. And this, again, flows into another aspect of PR. In this scene, Nick Naylor, our hero, played by Aaron Eckhart, is a tobacco industry lobbyist whose only strategy appears to be bridging any conversation to values about choice. In other words, look at this shiny bauble over here. Don't pay attention to the conversation at hand. He's on the Joan London show at the beginning of the movie, surrounded by anti-tobacco lobbyists and a teenaged boy named Robin who has cancer from smoking. Nick takes command, look at this shiny bauble over here, with some sleight of hand.
It's just like a John Grisham novel, without all the espionage. Most importantly, we've got spin control. That's where I come in. I get paid to talk. I don't have an MD or law degree. I have a bachelor's in kicking ass and taking names. You know that guy who can pick up any girl? I'm him on crack.
This is obviously a heated issue, and we do have a lot that we want to cover today. Nick, do you have a question?
Joan, how on earth would Big Tobacco profit off of the loss of this young man? Now, I hate to think in such callous terms, but if anything, we'd be losing a customer. It's not only our hope, it's in our best interest to keep Robin alive and smoking.
That's ludicrous.
Let me tell you something, Joan, and please, let me share something with the fine, concerned people in the audience today. The Ron Goodies of this world want the Robin Willigers to die. And you know why? So that their budgets will go up. This is nothing less than trafficking in human misery. And you, sir, ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I ought to be ashamed of myself.
As a matter of fact, we're about to launch a $50 million campaign aimed at persuading kids not to smoke. Because I think that we can all agree that there is nothing more important than America's children.
All right, now that's something that we're going to want to know more about. But I have to take a short break. Hang on, a lot more coming.
So change the conversation with shifty words. Is that or is that not a strategy?
It's certainly a diversionary tactic. It's a tactic that I don't think works very well anymore. It's interesting, when I first started in communications, I think there was more people that were enamored by sort of the rhetorical devices that you can use to change the conversation and divert people's attention away from a real issue. Again, I think most communicators have moved away from that. We still see a lot of that in politics, and that's where a lot of this comes from, is spin doctoring, quote unquote, in politics. However, I just don't think it's something that works for an organization, and to build long-term trust. with your audiences, with your stakeholders, to have a sustainable reputation and solid reputation. You can't be doing things like you have to be able to address issues head on, and be able to start a dialogue with with people who may be concerned about what you're doing, and try to communicate in as honest a fashion as possible.
I know you've heard them described as Jedi mind tricks sometimes. Pay no attention to this issue here. You do not care.
Well, it's funny, and I think I had a potential client one time even refer to that. Can you use your Jedi mind tricks to help get us out of this? And of course, the answer to that was, well, you can't make chicken salad out of what, right?
Yeah,
so
right. Lipstick on a pig.
I wish, in many respects, I had the Jedi mind tricks to be able to change, persuade people to do exactly what I want them to do all the time. But it's more complicated than that.
I remember this was early in my professional communications career, and I just crossed over from being a journalist, and I was attending a conference of the Radio and Television News Directors Association of Canada, or RTNDA, and they'd asked several of us in communications now who were former journalists to speak on a panel. And I had a very good friend with me. I'll leave their name out of the story. I had a very good friend. My message, because I was really on the key message concept, I was really just getting into communications, so key messages were a big deal. So my message to these news directors was, I develop key messages, speaking points, things to deliver. And my friend took the absolute opposite approach and said, well, I don't. I tell the clients I work with to tell the truth because I won't have to remember what they said. He absolutely won the day. The irony here is that I was actually telling the truth, and he was delivering a message that he knew that they would love. You see the sort of paradox and all that. So
absolutely,
I've never forgotten.
It's a great lesson to learn, though, earlier in your career, right? So
strategy, we both agree. Communications has to be strategic. Have you seen mistakes by not being strategic in your communications?
Yes, all the time, and in many respects, as communications consultants, we live off those mistakes. But the biggest mistake that I see organizations making, again, is not being planned about their communications, not understanding the stakeholder groups that they're trying to deal with, not understanding the audiences, and in some respects, underestimating, say, a level of discomfort or even outrage that might be there with a particular decision or with a particular direction that a company is going in. And what happens is companies will realize this, and organizations will realize this when it's already, in my view, in many respects, too late, and many times too late. And then you almost have to start back from the beginning and start to rebuild dialogue, rebuild trust with those groups, and it can take a long, arduous trail. And so my advice to organizations is, if you start to sense that there are issues, work with your in-house corporate communications team or in-house public relations team. If you don't have one of those, go talk to a consultant and start to address it, or else the project that you want to build may not go ahead, or may be delayed, or any other kind of initiative that you're working on may be delayed or not happen at all. And you see it all the time. People just wait too long to communicate, and communicate early, communicate often.
And that ultimately comes down to the value that you place on communications, which is actually up to us as communicators to prove the value. How do you prove the value? How do you provide the measurement?
Well, part of it is understanding the company or organization that you work with, understanding the business plan, understanding those objectives. There's lots of different ways to demonstrate that you're helping meet those objectives. But a great starting point in terms of value is you ask an organization that has a corporate communications group, corporate communications team, and ask, what would happen if you took that group away? What would that mean? And you start to talk through that and realize the implications. I think a lot of people will see the value. Obviously, intangibles with communications. lots of other lots of measuring tools as well. Lots of ways to show that there's typical measuring options, but really ask yourself that question: what if we didn't have a strategic communications function? What would that mean to our organization? And I think that's always a great starting point, because there's so many different aspects to it, so many different intangibles that go into it.
You and I speak almost every day as business partners, so it's hard for me to say thank you so much for your time. We just don't wrap up conversations that way, but this was a different conversation for you, for us. So I do very much appreciate your time.
Well, thanks, Doug, for moving this along and keeping me on track.
Perfect. If you'd like to send a message to my guest, my business partner, Jim Rudolph, you can email him at Jim, and it's Jim, at jgrcommunications.com. If you liked what you heard in this episode, would you do us a favor, recommend this podcast to one friend? And if you have an idea for an episode or just want to tell us something, send us a note at info@jgrcommunications.com. Thanks for listening.